When the board opens, please record your presence. Does everyone remember recorded their presence? Madam Clerk.
17 present, 7 absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have a necessary quorum to continue. First order of business, as we've been doing it the last couple of months, we're going to recognize Commissioner Calton for immediate introduction of item number 1, so we can go into the zoning portion of our agenda, and anyone here for public comment on zoning will have a chance to speak during that time. So, Madam Clerk, Commissioner Calton moves adoption of item number 1, seconded by myself, and as soon as that comes to the board, we'll vote. Voting on item number 1. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
18 yes, 6 absent.
Having received the necessary majority, item number 1 is adopted. We'll go into recess for the purposes of hearing public hearing on the zoning amendments. I recognize Mrs. Torbett from the well on amendment number 1.
Okay, thank you so much. In your zoning packet, we have 3 rezoning requests. One went to Kingsport Planning Commission, one went to ours, and one went to Bristol's. The first request is from Leighton and Gladys Roberts. They would like to rezone their property from commercial back to residential. This went to Kingsport Planning Commission. Is she gonna progress? Thank you. The blue arrow points to the planned business district that was rezoned by County Commission per the same landowner's request back in 1990. However, they've been living there all this time and they would like to rezone it back to R1, single family residential. It went to Kingsport Planning Commission and they forwarded a favorable recommendation to you all.
You've heard the explanation on Amendment 1. Does anyone seek recognition on Amendment 1? Questions, comments from Mrs. Torbett? Mrs. Torbett, is anyone here from the public wish to speak on the amendment?
I don't believe so. There was no opposition.
Without objection, when the board opens, cast your vote on amendment number 1. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
18 yes, 6 absent.
Having received necessary majority, amendment number 1 is adopted. Without objection, Ms. Torbett on amendment number 2.
Thank you so much. If you'll flip through your packet, the second request, F2, is from David Gibbs. This is at 900 Fairview School Road, Knoxville address. His request is to rezone his 2.2 acres from A1 to A2 for the purpose of building a little bit bigger storage building in the backyard. This went to the county's planning commission last month. There was no opposition, and the planning commission is forwarding you a favorable recommendation.
Any questions or comments on amendment number 2 for Mrs. Torbett? Ms. Torbett, is anyone here from the public wish to speak on amendment number 2?
No, he's not here. Thank you.
Without objection, ready to vote on amendment number 2. When the board opens, please cast your vote on amendment number 2. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
18 yes, 6 absent.
Having received the necessary majority, amendment number 2 is adopted. Without objection, Mrs. Corbett on amendment number 3.
Thank you. The last request is from Mr. Lizio. His real estate investments owns the property. This is in Bristol's urban growth boundary, so it went to their planning commission last month. His request is to rezone what's highlighted in pink back to R1. It has a split zoning on it. This is on Old White Top Road, and he plans on developing it into a subdivision. So he would like it all uniform back to R1. It went to Bristol, and we forward a unanimous recommendation to you all.
Any members have any questions or comments on amendment number 3 from Mrs. Corbett? Mrs. Corbett, anyone here for amendment number 3 for public comment?
No, sir.
Without objection, we're ready to vote on amendment number 3. When the board opens, please cast your vote on amendment number 3. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
18 yes, 6 absent.
Having received necessary majority, amendment number 3 is adopted.
Thank you so much. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Without objection, the public hearing for zoning is closed. Do we have a public comment sheet? No sheet? Is there anyone here that we're going to enter in our public comment portion of the meeting? Does anyone here wish to address the commission from the public? Without objection, the public comment portion of the meeting is closed. That takes us into our regular agenda. On item number 2, recognize Commissioner Crosswhite on item number 2.
Thank you, Commissioner Gardner. This resolution is for a grant, no matching funds for the 2024 Innovation School Models. And would you like for me to read it on? Okay. If you will go down to the bottom, we will show how these grants will be dispersed, and it all equals out to $3,485,900, and it'll be a good thing for our system. So I'd like to put this on consent, please.
Sponsor moves consent calendar on item number 2. Any objection to item number 2 being placed on consent calendar? Without objection, item number 2 is placed on consent calendar. Recognize Commissioner Crosswhite on item number 3.
Thank you again. This is another good grant for our school department, post-secondary access to rural communities. It's not as much, but it's $54,460.86, and I'd like to put that on consent agenda also.
Sponsor moves consent calendar on item number 3. Any objection to item number 3 being placed on consent calendar? Without objection, item number 3 is placed on consent calendar.
Thank you.
Recognize Commissioner Iverson on item number 4.
Same as the last two, this is acceptance of a grant, no matching funds, and then the math there just shows where they're going to spend it, but it's just accepted. And request a consent agenda also.
Sponsor moves consent calendar on item number 4. Any objection to item number 4 being placed on consent calendar? Without objection, item number 4 is placed on consent calendar.
Oh, wait.
Yes, sir.
Explain what this grant's going to be used for.
Well, Right now, we're expanding. We are already doing a lot of the welding. East High School students are graduating from Northeast State with a welding certificate prior to graduating high school. And we're gonna expand that into the West Ridge area also. This is mostly for supplies, materials, and vocational equipment to expand that program. So, speaking with Northeast State just earlier this week, Carter County is a little bit ahead of us. They're actually having kids, about 60 a year, graduate high school with a associate's degree. They're actually, and some of those kids are having so much college that they're going into, one of them, they said, entered Milligan College this year as a junior, straight out of high school. So we're gonna try to do the same thing here. We're gonna try to expand Sullivan County to having about 100 of those a year, and welding is just one of those options. So this is just gonna help that program go along a little bit quicker, but it's all grants. It's nothing local.
Have we got the welders and everything in place now for that class?
Yes. They're already doing it. So a lot of it's done at Northeast State, but we do have a lot of that, and we're gonna try to expand that program, and expanding means we'll have to have more on the local also. So,
Okay. All right, thanks.
And if it's all right, Commissioner Locke, I'm gonna have to go back a little bit. I'm used to item number 1 being zoning, and on our calendar, item number 1 is old business, and I'm going to thank you, Commissioner Vanover, for keeping me straight on that. I will recognize Commissioner Vanover on item number 1, the real item number 1.
Thank you, sir. No problem. This is another pretty simple resolution we talked about last month. It was on first reading, and next week hopefully it'll be on second and final reading. It's to authorize the mayor and the county attorney to sign a contract with TDOT for an improvement project at the intersection of Bloomingdale Road and Highway 93. In the original contract, if you remember, it said the county would be responsible for at least $25,000. We didn't like the wording of that, so we've changed that to $25,000, and it will come from the existing highway department funds. And I'm asking for it to be on second and final reading next week. Hope we can support that.
You've heard the explanation. Any questions, comments on item number 1 for the sponsor? Without objection, the sponsor moves second reading for our commission meeting next week. Thanks, sir. Sorry about skipping that like that. Without objection, recognize Commissioner Locke on item number 5.
This is another grant resolution for the library. This is to accept $10,113 from the Tennessee State Library and Archives used for technology equipment and the everyday operations of the library for Wi-Fi, waiver, consent agenda. Yeah.
Sponsor moves consent agenda on item number 5. Any objection to item number 5 being placed on consent calendar? Without objection, item number 5 is placed on consent calendar. Recognize Commissioner Locke on item number 6.
This resolution here is to appropriate $3 million, actually $4 million to the city of Kingsport, $3 million, which should be used for renovations of the city-county justice center, and $1 million extra for the economic development of Kingsport. I've got City Manager Chris McCart here present if anyone has any questions. It's a total project cost of $5.6 million. August 2022, we voted to do 2.6 of that. City of Kingsport has not received that as of yet. So once we vote on this, I assume Sullivan County will appropriate the funds for the City of Kingsport. Is that right, Mr. Bailey?
We will be claiming to initiate the bond issue.
That's correct. So anybody got any questions and if they want to be added to as a co-sponsor, let me know.
You've heard the explanation on item number 6. Anyone have any questions or comments for the sponsor? Anyone from the public wish to speak on the resolution? Commissioner Locke, I'll give you final say-so on the resolution. Take it up next week. About shy enough. Commissioner Locke.
We'll put that on waiver of the rules.
Sponsor moves waiver rules, we'll take it to the full commission next week. Thank you, Commissioner. Without objection, recognize Commissioner Cowden on item number 7.
Okay, this is for the change.
Can you hear me?
This is for the change for Sullivan County employees' share of the premium participation in the state insurance plan for 2024 calendar year. You can look at the bottom of it, and it shows what they're paying in 2023, which it begins in January of each year. And 2024, it's not much of an increase.
You've heard the explanation. Any questions for the sponsor on item number 7? Commissioner Cowden. Do you move consent?
Yes.
Sponsor moves consent calendar for item number 7. Any objection to item number 7 being placed on consent calendar? Without objection, item number 7 is placed on consent calendar. Recognize Commissioner Cowden on item number 8.
Okay, this resolution,
Commissioner Cowden.
thank you. To amend the appropriation for the juvenile court and the surface court clerk office to correct amounts omitted from the 2024 budget document, and you can see at the bottom that juvenile court is Bristol for personnel in the amount of $9,455. Circus court clerk and contracted service is $147,514, and supplies and materials in the amount of $38,600. And this is to be funded from the fund balance, and it's a total of $195,569.
You've heard the explanation. Any questions, comments for the sponsor on item number 8? Commissioner Raker.
Thank you, Chairman Pro Tem. It's going on about 5 years, probably about 120 some meetings, give or take, I've sat in. Am I in the right meeting? Is anybody going to speak? Oh my God, this is.
Professionalism.
I mean, half y'all never seen a microphone you could never walk away from. But I love it. Let's keep it up. Let's take notes for next Thursday. I know.
Commissioner Gardner, can I get number 8 on waiver rules?
You wish to move item number 8 on waiver of rules? Sure you want to put it on waiver? Waiver. Sponsor moves item number 8, waiver of rules. Be taken up next week at our regular commission meeting. And if my paper is correct, that takes us to the end of our calendar. Excuse me. Commissioner Stitt.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. You will see a resolution coming beginning next week for a pay increase for the Sheriff's Department uniform officers. Yesterday, we vetted budget. Unfortunately, the number we saw at budget yesterday was incorrect, so we didn't want to put something on the floor today to get a correct number. So we get those projections worked out. You'll see something emailed out to you in advance, well before the meeting next week, to review for first reading.
Anyone else have any announcements or closing comments? Commissioner Glover.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. There's a letter, I think it's laying on everybody's desk, and I think this is from the Sheriff's Office, if I'm reading this correctly. Sullivan County Sheriff, salary increase for Sullivan County Sheriff's Office. I know there's no resolution on the table. Could we still have some discussion on this tonight if we want to?
We're more than willing to.
I mean, we got,
If you have,
the sheriff's here, all these people are here, and, I was at that budget meeting last night, and I think it went from $1,045,000 to $1,684,800 is what I'm reading correctly on this paper. So, I mean,
if you have questions, comments from anyone, I'll be happy to ask them to come up.
Gary, you said something will be ready.
Yes, we'll have a resolution prepared. This is a projected number. It will be close to this. We're not exactly sure what that number is going to be. Mr. Bailey's got to go back and look at some things. There was a little bit of incorrect data to what we had yesterday when we brought that forward. So I actually have a resolution over here, but it doesn't have the correct numbers on it. And we need to make sure when we put this one out there, so we're not muddying the waters, that we have a true number setting there, not something that's going to muddy the waters, and clear, precise wording on it. So this came from Mr. Kennedy. This is going to be fairly close, but we still need to be verified on the numbers when we look at it. But some of the verbiage we've got to change in what we had done. Didn't have time to review it before we got here today, so we're not going to pass it out and muddy the waters on it. But we do have the sheriff here, Mr. Kennedy, that can answer a lot of your questions if you have them.
Sheriff, when you're saying 270 uniformed officers,
That's sworn and certified personnel.
okay. Is that dispatchers, is that investigators?
That's, what we have corrections division, we have transportation, courts, bailiffs, process, and patrol, criminal investigation. So that's going to be all, any officer that works the correction division is sworn personnel. So that's uniformed, sworn, working corrections. Our certified personnel is those ones that deter, detect, prevent crime, which are your post-certified people on the road, process, bailiffs, criminal investigation division, K-9 school resource officers.
Okay. When you come up with $1,684,800, are those your numbers that you come up with?
Yes, those are my numbers. The numbers yesterday, I saw them when you guys did. I didn't come up with those numbers, so these are the numbers I believe are correct. I mean, it's just $3 an hour raise times 270 officers, uniformed officers, times 2,080 hours in a year, which is 80 hours times 26 pay periods. So pretty straightforward numbers. I think this would be correct. Now, obviously, we could have adjustments. Mr. Bailey's going to go back and review it and kind of see what his office thinks, and we can go from there.
This number figure that you got here, is that benefits and?
No, that is just for salary.
Just for salary?
Yes, sir.
So you don't have that other included yet?
I do not. Mr. Bailey's office usually takes care of benefits. So he said yesterday in the meeting that his office will do that.
Okay.
And again, this number is for a year. So I just want you guys to know.
Okay. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Anyone else have any questions for the sheriff? I'll have Commissioner Aker.
Thank you, Chairman. As I was chairman of the meeting yesterday, and we had a great discussion, I feel like. I want to thank everybody for being there. And you know, I'll go ahead and say that my heartache is when we try to put a dollar figure on an hour raise. For me, it's more about funding the sheriff's budget, and then they figure out what they need to do, because, as I said yesterday, I don't feel like we need to micromanage the hourly rate. That's what, with all due respect, Sheriff Cassidy is elected by the people of Sullivan County to do, and we need to fund it. And so I am extremely comfortable with what was passed yesterday. And I think that's a huge step, but I'm not there every day. But I do believe what we discussed yesterday and agreed to is a great step forward, and kind of see what happens. We are down 29 off the top of my head from some numbers. Yeah,
28, yes, sir.
28, 29 positions right now that need to be filled. And so, but I mean, this is nothing personal, but I'm gonna have a real heartache to see a resolution with this number on it. I'm just gonna be very honest with you. I'm very comfortable with what we did yesterday. And I think it's a step forward. Now, is it gonna solve all the problems? I don't know if this will solve all the problems. I think that's where we've got to keep looking at it. And
Yeah,
I
we just wanted to address the, you know, the problems, because we did hear a $3 or $2.
Right.
This would give us the opportunity to give $1.86 an hour
Yeah.
to the.
And that's where I agree with, you know, but I think we pigeonhole ourselves when we start talking about that hourly rate, you know, and I think that's where, and we had that list of everybody, and what they do is tough. I mean, we've invested a lot of money. I mean, I don't want to see our $95 million jail not be staffed adequately, you know? But I also don't think we have to try to hit a home run right out of the bat on everything. I'm just saying it gives me heartburn. I'm not saying I'm totally against it. I'm fine with what we did yesterday. Seeing this letter gives me great pause and everything. But I still think, you know, it's been said by our mayor, Sullivan County's never not fulfilled its obligations when needed. Because that was a lot of discussion about what we're doing at the Justice Center in Kingsport. And I think we got a lot of building over there. I think we got some bad architects that can't figure out how much a project's gonna cost, but that's a whole nother subject. But yeah, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of discussion, and like I said, I'm really good with what we did yesterday. Got a little heartburn on this number right here, but you know, we want a safe Sullivan County, but let's make sure we do it correctly and everything. So.
And again, this letter was just to clarify the $3 an hour, what we think the projection would be. Again.
But before I recognize Mr. Bailey, I recognize Mr. Bailey, then Commissioner King. The letter would, if you have one, I need to give one to the clerk for her electronic copy. There we go. Thank you, sir. Recognize Mr. Bailey, then Commissioner King.
Yes, I'd like to explain yesterday the information that was presented and where the $1,045,743 come from. That come from the schedule that was presented above that, showing how much that was originally appropriated for personnel between the sheriff and corrections. That was not spent or redirected for other purposes. And that amount was a figure to show that there was sufficient money there to pay at least a $2 raise across the board for the employees, for the uniformed officers or more. And then there'd be some money to pay those that made the 6 month and 12 months that I was recommending within the year, some money to pay on that. It was not intended to be calculated exactly that amount. It would be after yesterday's meeting and what was the consensus of the budget committee to go forward with that would be to provide calculated amounts to be presented in the actual resolution. But $1,045,000 got, I guess, carried away. And I may have contributed to that a little bit as to how much it would actually cover, but it was never intended to cover the exact amount. That is simply what we transferred into other accounts and what we had left over on June 30th in 100 accounts. $1,045,000. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. I feel responsible for allowing it to happen, and I thought this morning, really until Michael said something about it, didn't really get to study his figures. I probably have seen what you're seeing, but I've not had a chance to go back and analyze it, because going into the meeting last night, there is some question about the exact number of people to be funded for this. The discussions have been to include certain support staff and not to include. But my interpretation of the need was, based on what the sheriff had said, was that it was to provide the actual patrol officers and the people, as I've said, uniformed officers in working schools and so forth, to give them a raise, to make it more appealing to them to stay on the job and quit losing. If you saw the figures I put out yesterday, you see the attrition. It is seeming like going out faster than it's coming in as far as people goes. And the number of days they keep those people in months and weeks, it is very inefficient to hire people and put them on board and not keep them.
Yeah, that's evident by the Tennessee Highway Patrol, where they upped their salary, which we know we'll never be able to compare to that, but 1,046 applications across the state for THP just upping their rates. So you're seeing how important the rate of pay is with attracting those personnel, but also retaining them. And again, Commissioner Aker, that was most of your conversation yesterday. I didn't get to make it. I was in Nashville, but that was most of the conversation that I heard was we want to be competitive around the region. So, you know, the $2 and $3. Like I say, I don't want to muddy the waters, but that was what we had figured out, just to be competitive in this area.
Commissioner King, then Commissioner Iverson.
Thank you. I thought the meeting we had yesterday afternoon, the Budget Committee, I thought that was a good meeting. There was a lot of talk back and forth. I learned quite a bit of stuff that I really didn't know. And the reason I punched this button is I wanted to hear from our budget director on, you know, what's the difference. I mean, this is quite a bit of money that we're looking at. And, you know, I'd like to have seen that money, you know, talked about last night, you know, the difference. If y'all had that money, or, you know, had these figures last night where we could have talked about it in our budget committee, that would have been helpful.
We were told that the numbers were going to be provided by Larry, so we were waiting to see what we had. We didn't have the numbers before you guys did, so I was honestly trying to see where we were at. And
So,
provided them.
but you came up with those figures yourself, or did you come up with Larry helping you?
The figures that you have tonight?
Yes.
Oh, that I did this morning. I got the numbers from last night. I was sitting at the table calculating what I thought was the accurate amount, but I wasn't going to say it last night because I only had as much time as you guys did to look at it. So I looked at the numbers this morning, figured out what it was, emailed Larry about 8:30 this morning on what I think it would be, and we're here now.
But I guess I'm kind of like David, you know, here we were, we said, you know, this is the number we're going to use. The budget committee said that. And then none of your people said, no, that's not correct. We got a different number. Then we could have adjusted our number or even looked at it.
If I could have had these numbers before last night at 4 o'clock, I could have given you guys better numbers. I was just still. Do what?
How you gonna know already?
I apologize. That's my mistake, guys. Okay.
All right, I'm done.
Commissioner Iverson, then Commissioner Means.
I just want to actually, some of the things that was at that meeting last night, I was there observing, not speaking anything, but one of the things that Commissioner Akers said, I really want to say the same thing again. I mean, I think that whatever we do, we need to say, okay, we're just going to, if we give money, we're going to give it to the sheriff and let the sheriff figure it out. Because I don't want to have calls from someone that didn't get a pay raise. It's not our position to do that, and I think we need to stay out of the weeds on that. And the sheriff knows where the hurts are. He knows who needs more, and he may decide that this one division needs a lot more than this, and he might put it all in one place, and that's his position. In my opinion, that's his job to do, not ours. I think we need to stay out of the weeds on that. The other thing I'll say is that there's only 21 pay periods left.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
I mean,
Yes.
I don't think we need to look at a 26 pay period thing when that part of the year is already gone.
That's the reason why I specified this is for a whole year, and I said, yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, at whatever point we look at this, that number is going to be adjusted down because there's at least 5 pay periods already gone.
Absolutely.
So, other than that, that's all.
Commissioner Means.
Okay, so I just wanted to say thank you all for, I went on a ride-along, and I wanted to encourage each of the commissioners to go on a ride-along because I went on one a few weeks ago. And I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about the details of the call that was happening.
As long as we've named that.
It's okay. So, okay, but it was really great, and there was a wonderful team. You have a wonderful group of, these are all men there, but I know there's some ladies that are on your team too, and they worked together. They found, there was not a moment spared, and I feel very grateful. I feel like we have the best of the best in Sullivan County. So thank you all for your service, and thank you for what you do. To me, this is a cost of living type of situation too. We have a private business, and we've had to up the pay just because of inflation and all of the things. So yes, it's competitive edge, all those things, but it's also cost of living. So Just wanted to tell you all thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Stitt.
And everyone had very valid points. That's the exact reason you don't have a resolution sitting in front of you, because we still got to work on these projections. It will not have by the hour in it. It will be a set amount of money to go to the sheriff's department for the remaining of the year. And that's the reason why we're not going to have a resolution tonight. And so when we do have one in front of you next week, on first reading, you can look at it and all the questions will be answered, and it'll be one number. So that's why we didn't want to muddy the waters tonight. So thank you, Mr. President. Thanks, Sheriff. Mr. Kennedy.
Anyone else have any questions or comments before they take off?
Thanks.
Any other announcements, closing comments? Mr. Vanover.
If you'll notice on your desk, our Archives Director and Tourism Archives Director Matthew Johnson laid a paper on your desk. And this is pretty appropriate since this is race week, talking about tourism in Sullivan County and how much it's brought in. If you look at the bottom two numbers, those are the most important. Sullivan County ranked 11th of the 95 counties in bringing in tourism dollars. Visitor spending in Sullivan County generated $33 million in state and local tax revenue. We're hoping that our occupancy tax will help bring some into our coffers to increase tourism. And I don't know if Matthew wanted to speak on that or not.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think you covered it, but I think the point is to be made that there's
State your name,
Name and address, please.
Donald J. Matthew Johnson, Department of Archives and Tourism. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. Not prepared to say much, but other than we have a lot going on. This is a huge weekend for us at BMS as far as the county is concerned, and those folks all well. But it's important. A lot of great things are happening. We had a joint press release that went out today, just with the new numbers that have came out. There's actually a governor's conference happening in Knoxville right now, so they're finishing up. Just wanted to relay those numbers to you, but something to be proud of, and thank you for your time. Any questions?
One other point there, if you look at the top line on the second page, this is pretty important to point out. It says, if it were not for the state and local tax generated by tourism, each Sullivan County household would have to pay $501 more dollars in state and local taxes. So that's a big thing. So would everyone want to see that? So,
yes, sir.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Commissioner Aiken.
Yeah, I think, Chairman, kind of follow up on this. Had a personal situation with Leah Ross this week, and of course Bristol Rhythm and Roots was just in town, and she made it a point to say thank you to the whole commission for including them in their budget. And then we just kind of got talking about exactly what Matthew just talked about, and how many they had. I think she told me they sold tickets to every single state in the country. This was on Wednesday morning. I was at her office talking, and two people walked in and said, "Hey, how are you?" "Oh, good." He said, "What are you here for?" "Well, I won one of the raffle prizes. It was an electric bike." "Oh, cool. Where are you from?" "Las Vegas." So they had been here for at least 5 days. And so then I kind of made a statement. I said, you know, Leah, this is why it was so instrumental for us to pass the hotel law. Because she said, you all have got to get with Explore Bristol, Visit Kingsport, and what's Alicia's one? Netta, thank you. It's going to do great things. I mean, we have so much going on up here. And this press release right here just proves what we have going on up here for tourism and everything. And so I'm excited to see where we go in the next few years with that and what we can do with that, because it's not going to stop. I know it's going to continue. And so again, thank you all for everything. Thank you for supporting Rhythm Roots. We got the races in, and who knows what else is next and everything.
Anyone have any other closing announcements or a motion?
Oh, you got another item on the agenda.
Where?
About the meeting next.
Oh, yes.
Meeting next month.
It's an agenda item?
Yes.
On my paper. What's it? Date, okay. Date change for October regular meeting. What's the change? I'm not heard.
Mr. Pro Tem, I make a recommendation, we move it to the 23rd on Monday. We're all going to be, there's going to be a large group of us in Chattanooga for the County Commissioners Association. So I make a motion that we move the October meeting, the full commission meeting, to 23rd of October, 18 at 6 p.m.
So you offer that in the form of motion. We need to, any way we can put that on the board for vote? Or we can,
We won't vote, we have to vote next Thursday.
oh, yeah, well, that is right, this is work session, okay. I'm a week ahead of myself here, guys. Next week we'll make that, when he made that formal motion, you got me in commission mode there, so. So we'll make that in the form of a formal, motion next week. All right. So that was actually for next week, Brother Sam.
Hey,
Way to be a go-getter.
overachiever.
That's laying in front of us.
Because we know you weren't valedictorian in class.
Commissioner Means. Commissioner Means.
Okay, September 25th through November 19th, the UT Extension is having a Walk Across Tennessee a-thon, and Mr. Vanover and I are going to be in a little friendly competition, and I know I'm in a room full of competitive spirits here, so we want to challenge you all to join in with us. So, yes, it's walking. Yes. So.
Did you care to give the details?
You all have it, you should have it in your email,
Okay.
but it's Walk Across Tennessee. If you want, I can text it to you if you want to.
What's the dates on that again?
September 25th through November the 19th, so.
Okay. Great. Commissioner King, sir.
Thank you. David, you got some of my money in Bristol last weekend, so, but, I just wanna brag on y'all for what y'all did. Probably the last act on Sunday afternoon, that's the most people I've ever seen at one act in Bristol. So that says a whole lot, for what y'all done. And, even though it rained, there was some, slack, but, people was inside eating, so they're spending money. So, and if y'all have been by the racetrack, there's campers on top of campers. I don't know where all the campers are coming from, but anyway, it's full. But they're you know, what you was talking about, we sat and ate with some people from Maryland, and then we went to another place, we talked to some people from, San Francisco. It was here. So, you know, and those people come and spend money. So anyway, that's all I want to say. Thanks to Bristol for what they did, so, it was good.
Yeah, you hear that, boys and girls?
Motion adjourned.
Without objection, adjourned. Hold on, Commissioner Jones seeks recognition. Commissioner Jones, is this on the agenda?
Well, we're getting out pretty early. I was asked to announce there's two things coming up that commissioners have been involved with. The Reagan Day dinner is coming up, and I'd like to ask Mr. Johnson to come back to the podium if he would and give the details on that. And then Terry Harper Rhodes was very involved along with me with the Rutan, and several members are in here. We do have a meeting coming up that commissioners have traditionally bought an ad, and that supports Rutan all across the county. I would ask you to be supportive of that. I'll ask Zane to, since he's taking that seat, to be responsible for it.
I hit everybody up last year. I think it's your turn this year. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Wear a lot of hats. Private citizen Matthew Johnson, 125 Wonderland Drive, Kingsport, Tennessee. Just want to invite our commissioners out to the Ron Ramsey Ag Center on October 5th. Congressman Tim Burchett will be our keynote speaker, and will be introduced by our Congresswoman Dinah Harshbarger. We'd appreciate it if you could attend. It will be a great dinner. It's at the Ag Center, always great food and a great venue and a wonderful time to share with fellow Republicans. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Sam.
Motion to adjourn. I fell for that before. Has anybody got anything? Without objection, adjourned until Thursday next.